it's that same thing as that time that I was telling about why I was ill. That other time, Brittany got mad because she's like, don't be talking about you on live, you know. When I was a baby, I did baby powder. And now that I'm almost 40, it seems like if I'm ever working in enough heat and I got enough sweat running down me, and I have this problem, I guess this is just the new conditions of life. This is just my new reality. It's how it is. It's like Timo. There's got to be some kind of prevention, you know. Look, you didn't even stop it. The stop sign. Where is the stop sign? It's supposed to be a stop. Oh. It's like somebody stole the stop sign, so people ain't stopping. It's on this side, not the other. Had somebody watching for like half a second. Get brake pads. I guess I got the money to do it now. Maybe. I don't know exactly how much it's going to cost. Tag, registration, renewal of license, all this shit. I didn't notice it. But it's the year 2025, so my birthday's August the 20th, so that means my license is expired. I gotta renew my license. Tired, and I don't really feel like, it's hurting to walk. So I really doubt that I'm gonna try to just renew my license online. I remember when I got my license, you said they expired in 2025, and I was like, that's forever. It'll be forever before I have to worry about that, and now it snuck up on me. You gonna give the cops my location? I figure some of them people in the UK might do that. They changed the law in the UK where now, if you're an American, and even if you made the social media post while in America before going to Britain, you can be arrested for your social media post upon entering into Britain. It's really crazy. You know, the British started the whole free speech thing because they were like, we can't really have a good parliament or good advisors to the king if we keep getting killed for voicing our thoughts and opinions. If we're going to discuss matters of state and debate about things, we need free speech. So they had free speech in Parliament, but all of society didn't have free speech. But they eventually extended it to everybody. Now they're backtracking on it. You subscribe, thank you for subscribing. They probably will give me a little bit of grace if I get pulled over, because it hasn't been that long and I just figured out about it. Really wish I could get my air conditioner fixed. But it's about to be winter time. So I just got off of work. If you're new here, I normally do go live when I get off work on the ride back home, because it's about an hour ride, almost a little bit less than that. And that's a good time for me to go live because I'm not taking any time away from Brittany. I'm not taking any time away from any of the work I need to get done. And so I just go live because that's the time I have to go live. But I don't really normally have much planned to talk about. Maybe I should start scripting it. Sometimes people will say something in the comments and give me something to talk about. I miss my dogs a little bit. They're always happy to see me when I get home. I miss Brittany, but I'm not about to stop at the restaurant and see her just because I don't want to get out and walk. Just every step I take, I'm raw in the creases of my legs from all that sweat dripping down and stuff. Every step hurts. So, I'm kind of ill. So normally that means I'm going to fuss about something going on in the world. But today I'm going to try not to. I'm going to try to just not really worry with it. There's a lot of things that the only way to really fix the problem is actually, I guess you're not supposed to say this on YouTube, is violence, Like people argue about things, but eventually they fight about them and somebody wins and somebody loses. And peace is just the surrender of the other side, a temporary truce before the war continues. There's a lot of problems that people fuss about, like political problems. And the only way to really fix it is to overthrow the entire government. The entire thing's broken. And people would rather just live a normal life than do all that, As long as you can bear it, you just keep on bearing it. The prices are going to go up faster than wages, but as long as everybody's still eating, they'll bear a lot more than they should before righting the wrongs. Just because the cost of righting the wrongs is so great that we just sort of let it go on. You see this nonsense. Okay, I guess I am going to fuss about things in the world. But you see this nonsense about Trump talking about releasing the Epstein files. He was saying that that's like hostile toward the White House. They're being hostile. How is that being hostile? Now, one thing, at first I thought, okay, Mossad of Israel through Epstein has Trump, has dirt on Trump with the Epstein files. That's how they're forcing him to go to war in Iran. But then I started thinking about it. It might not be the case. It might just be that Trump has the ability now to blackmail everybody else. So he doesn't, if he releases the files, he loses his leverage and he's able to push through almost anything he wants to push through because he can censor parts and release parts of it. And he can just maybe, but I don't know. It's all speculative. But really, I don't think that's a good enough excuse. I think if anybody could bring justice to the victims, they should. And I think a lot of it is just damage control for Israel. They don't want to make Israel look bad. But that Jeffrey Epstein, when I heard Epstein, I kept thinking, this name sounds very familiar. I've heard of this name before, but I just couldn't place it. And then a few days ago, I finally remembered the Beatles manager's last name was Epstein. They had a homosexual Jew as a manager named Brian Epstein. That a lot of people tried to blackmail, but the secret was kind of already out that he was gay. And so every time I'd hear Jeffrey Epstein, I was like, I know I've heard that name Epstein, but I just couldn't place it. Are you will? Do you mean are you well? Or are you will? It says W-I-L-L. Are you? I don't know what that question is, or I would do my best to answer it. There was this on Facebook today. Somebody was saying something. I forget what the original post was about. And I said something about the Talmud. And then this guy, he was saying, what the early church fathers wrote is way worse than the Talmud. And I was just like, give me an example, you know? And he found an example of a church father saying that the synagogue was like a house of thieves and scoundrels, and that they were like wild beasts. And I'm like, this ain't worse than the Talmud. The Talmud says all non-Jews are beasts. The Talmud says it's okay to steal from the non-Jew. So it seems like Tertullian, or whoever this guy was quoting, is simply just telling the truth. He's really reached. But I remember it actually started about Muhammad, because somebody was defending Muhammad. And it was like, well, Muhammad had sex with a 9-year-old. And they were like, well, all kind of religious texts have all kind of religions have unsavory passages and stuff. And I was like, well, show me another prophet that founded a religion that had sex with children. I'll wait. And they had nothing. I hate how religion does this. You know, like, if something is wrong, but it's religiously sanctioned, the people of those religions, they can't just say it's wrong. They won't just say, yep, it's wrong to have sex with a 9-year-old. They got to try to make some justification or acceptance for it, or some reason why Muhammad's not in the wrong. And they're bound by the religion that they just have to accept it. It's inconvenient for them, but it's just, they don't want to go to hell. They want to go to heaven. They're scared to question their faith. And so they get stuck. You get stuck with there's all kind of things in the Bible that I wish we could just throw out. But we're going to have to deal with it forever, probably. You know, like, for instance, circumcision. Till the end of time, there'll be babies unnecessarily having part of their dick cut off. Forever. Because Abraham heard a voice in his head that God told him to do that. The same voice that told him to kill his son, then is like, no, don't kill your son. How about just this circumcision thing instead? That can be a little blood sacrifice. And it doesn't make any sense, really. But because it's the religion, people are like, well, God said to do it, it must be good. So then people try to find a reason for it after the fact. You got hell forever. How is that just? You know, if the punishment is supposed to fit the crime, then the only person that would deserve to burn forever is someone who's burnt someone forever. Like, if you haven't burnt someone forever, how do you deserve to burn forever? But it's in the religion, so it's sanctioned, so people have to try to rationalize it and be like, well, you send yourself to hell, or they say all kind of stuff. And it's like, I think that human morality's kind of developed past, you know, like, we've already progressed past the Quran, past the Bible, but we're not really able to move forward. We're kind of stuck. Now, in a lot of ways, we've gotten worse. There's a lot of wisdom in the Bible, and even some wisdom in the Quran. But, and you know, there's traditions that work, and you know, there's certain things. Like, for instance, with humanity, we're a polydimorphic species. The genders are different from one another. They have unique qualities about each different gender. We're polydimorphic, and so there are certain traditional gender roles that are just the most efficient way for humanity to function. And the reason that they've become traditions is because they've been successful for so long. If you've got, you know, a wife and a mother and a father and a husband, instead of just hookup culture, baby mama, baby daddies, society advances further. It's better for the children. It makes a more stable society. You're able to get along with other men and organize larger, organized labor forces and such. And so there's benefits to traditional values, and there's merit to them. It's not like everything in the Bible is rubbish. Most of it's very good, and it's just thousands of years of wisdom being compiled. But I do think some of it is just, some people were mistaken. Their own ego was mistaken for God. The crowd vibe was mistaken for God. Their own desire for power was mistaken for God. And so people just get sort of stuck dogmatically sticking to things, you know? And it's like most people who believe in the Bible, they believe that the Bible has no contradictions and that it is perfect and that every verse in it is true. But every verse can't be true because there are, like, for instance, when Paul is on the road to Damascus, this story is told in Acts, and it's told again. I think it's told twice in Acts, but it might be in another book. I think he's got 3 different accounts of this story and 2 major accounts where most of the details are in there. But in one of them, he sees a bright light, you know, and the people that are with him, they see the light, but they don't hear the voice. The other time he tells the story, they don't see the light, but they hear the voice. He doesn't keep his story straight, and it contradicts at 2 different points. So both of those verses can't be true. How can it be true that they saw but didn't see? How can it be true that they heard but didn't hear? And there's a simple explanation of why he can't keep his story straight and he contradicts, is he doesn't remember his lie. Or he's telling it to a different audience. And it is kind of suspicious. You know, Jesus handpicks the 12 disciples. Everyone sees him do it and he does it publicly. He's like, I picked John, James, you know, Peter. But then Paul, he's just out on the road to Damascus in the wilderness by himself, and he's like, oh, I saw Jesus too, and he made me one of the, you know, top highest ranking members of the church. I just got done killing Christians all day long, but hey, now I'm the head honcho. I'm a apostle now, you know, and nobody can cooperate. Nobody can give an account of his story in his story, because he says the people that were with him, well, they didn't see what he saw, but they heard. And then he says, well, they didn't hear, but they saw. Depending on if he's talking to a Roman audience or a Jewish audience or whatever. So it's very suspicious to me, and I think he could have been a fraudster early on, like an early Joseph Smith type character, where he goes and gets his own, you know. And so there's no verse in the Bible that says everything in the Bible is true. There's no verse in the Bible that says every single time someone in the Bible said God said, that God really said. Have you ever noticed how when the devil tempts Jesus, he offers him the same temptation as what God promises Abraham? Fame, fortune, power, if you'll just worship me. So, you know, I think that there's a possibility that sometimes it wasn't God at all talking to Abraham or the Jews. They just thought it was. The straight up devil come up to him and said, yo, I'm God, go kill every man, woman, and child. And they said, yes, sir, God, let's go do it. And I don't know that it was ever God telling them to go kill every single man, woman, and child, or to rescue them from slavery, just to have them enslave other people. It doesn't really make sense to me. Now, I could be wrong, and I could burn in hell for being wrong. Who knows? So I'm not telling you to chance it. I'm not telling you to question it, but I'm going to. For a long time, I wouldn't. But anyway, people get in these arguments, these look over here arguments. You point out something absolutely diabolical, something absolutely wicked. You know, Muhammad's having sex with a 9-year-old. That's terrible. How is this a prophet? You really going to trust that this guy is speaking for God? And instead of saying, yeah, that makes sense, they say, well, what about this other religion over here? Or what about what this person said over here? Or they'll make up some fantasy like 2,000 years ago, people were aged to the maturity of a 30-year-old while they were 9, which is total horseshit. You know, it's not like, see, Islam is a very new religion, even though they say they're an old religion, because they come out about 600 years after Jesus, and then they claim everybody before them was a Muslim. And it's pretty clear that they just took pieces and bits of other religions that they heard different verses of from the trade and everything, and they kind of just pieced them together. Kind of like what Israel did in the Iron Age. They did the same thing. You could look at Israel and tell that they've got Canaanite, Egyptian, Babylonian, and Zoroastrian influences. That's what people kind of do. They borrow and blend with the people and ideas around them. and adapt as needed, But I think that there is a real, there's this crowd vibe. When a whole bunch of people get united with a single purpose and a single mission, there is this crowd vibe that people feel, the collective consciousness of the whole group. And I think that that's often mistaken for God. Now, I think there probably is a God. I don't think that the universe just randomly just come about for no reason or purpose. But I just think that when we do meet God, we're going to find out that a lot of people was lying on him, saying he said things he never said, saying he cared about things he never cared about. They'll be like, but God, you told me that it was to go kill all these people and take their land. And God's going to be like, I never said that. They're going to be like, but God, you told me to cut off part of my baby's penis. And God's going to be like, I created it that way. I never told you to do that. They're going to be like, well, God, you told me to burn this lamb on an altar. I moved my sins over to that lamb and burn it to death. I thought I was forgiven. You told me to do that. And God's going to be like, I created the animals. I never told you to burn them on an altar. Could you imagine, And it's just that if I was to say, hey, I'm supposed to be the king because I said so, that's never going to carry as much weight as if I said, God said I'm the king. Or if I tell you to go kill someone, you're like, no, bro. But if God tells you. So I just think that heaven and hell are like powerful incentives to get people to be willing to die. Every religion has an afterlife if they have a warrior culture. Whether it be Vikings, Greeks, Christians, Muslims. Because if you want people to go on the battlefield and die, you've got to have a reward greater than life and a punishment greater than death to incentivize that. Or else, why would anybody sacrifice their life for the state? So I think that that's a lot of the reason. I'm not saying that there isn't an afterlife, but I'm just saying that even whether there is one or isn't one, it would be advantageous for governments and kings to have people believing that there were. Because it's a very strong whip and carrot. It's a very strong incentive. Man, it's hot. And then, when you throw out religion, people just become the worst versions of themselves. Like you look at the atheistic nations, they just worship the government. People just start worshiping government. People start allowing all kind of things that have nothing to do with human flourishing. All types of degeneracy. They pretty much just say everything is allowed. Now, I will say this, some people say, well, you want to doubt religion or something so you can sin more. I never had a desire to sin more. You really, it's not like I want to go kill people and the threat of hell is keeping me from doing it. I just already don't want to kill people. I already don't want to steal. It's bad for the economy. It's bad for human flourishing. And if you look at the 10 Commandments, most of those commandments are tied to human flourishing. Not all of them. Some of them are just tied to honoring God. But it's kind of advantageous for the society to have a national God as a unifier, to unify the people. Make a distinction between the in-group and the out-group. All the individuals are able to become a collective and have greater power as a collective than as an individual by having a common story. Religion binds people together. Whether it's true or not, it's genetically advantageous to be part of a bigger society, bigger than yourself. And religion helps organize that. But also, you look at the law of Moses, anybody that was skeptical or, really critically examine things, they were going to die. If you were very superstitious, you had a better chance of making it in that world. You blaspheme the name of God, you're put to death. You turn away to another God, you're put to death. You say anything bad about God, you're put to death. You have to. So I'm sure there were a lot of people during the time of Moses that maybe didn't believe it, but they pretended they did because they'd be put to death if they didn't. And then some people, were like, hey, wait a minute, there's a hole in your logic here. They were put to death. And so it just, hundreds and hundreds, thousands of years of all kinds of different religions killing people for not conforming to the religion. It sort of bred humanity to be more superstitious. It bred humanity to be, don't think critically, don't examine things too closely. It might kill you, But humans are not really ready to just do away with religion. I haven't seen any society that's done away with religion that hasn't wound up in a worse state. They're not even able to have population replacement. They fall into all kinds of degeneracy and debt and crime. And before you know it, they're just a bunch of, atheist homosexuals that think they're cool, that are not gonna, and I'm not bashing religion, but I think it is kind of necessary. But I think that there's probably going to be a new religion come into the world soon, because there has to be something to where, with our scientific knowledge, with what we know today, it needs to be a faith that people can still believe in. We can still unify people. They can still give people a sense of purpose and meaning. But like a lot of the religions now are a lot bigger asks to get someone to believe in them than they used to. Like used to, people kind of thought a lot of the natural forces were gods. They thought fire was a god, the river was a god, lightning was a god. Anything they couldn't understand, God did it. It's a god, it's a force, And then we started kind of getting this idea of a unified monotheistic God. Even the pagans in Europe and the Romans, even though they believed in many gods, they believed in a universal organizing principle, a universal divinity that's in all divine things that people like. They basically sort of believed that one of the dimensions of the universe was consciousness. And I don't think that there was a dead universe with no mind that just chaotically come together to make the universe and then evolved into the living and evolved into consciousness and mind. I think that mind, consciousness, life was in the beginning at the foundation of the universe. That it's just like how there's energy or matter or time or space. There was consciousness, there was mind, there was intelligence. It was some kind of, and the universe is kind of examining its own self, becoming aware of its own self, experiencing its own self. It's like I'm not anti-religion, and I'm not an atheist. I don't know. I'm not claiming to know. I really don't know. But I do think that there's some quite horrible practices that it's going to take a long time before we can ever move past them, because they've been grandfathered in by religions. And now that we know better, it's just going to be a long time. People don't like to change fast. And it's kind of a shame, that there's a lot of things that people can only accept when they're ready to accept them. You cannot really Because you'll see that you can have productive debates with people, like I did with my friend Kyle Massey. You know, me and Kyle Massey, we used to have these debates, but they were beneficial to us both. They were constructive because we would think about what the other person said. We would think about the weak points in our own argument. And over time, both of our perspectives broadened, and I could kind of see where he was coming from. He could see where I was coming from. He saw he was wrong about some things. I saw I was wrong about some things, and we both developed and grew. But then sometimes you get into a debate or an argument with someone and you see that it's completely pointless. There's no fruit in it because they're not even really trying to see your perspective. They're not even trying to honestly address your argument. They're straw manning. They're saying, what about this? They're saying that you're saying something that you're not saying. They're saying, well, if you're saying that, you're saying this. And they don't try to honestly engage in a discussion. And when someone's doing that, there's no point because they're only trying to have their own point validated or to try to convince you, but they're not really open to really for nothing else to understand how they come to that false conclusion. And if you're getting really mad while you're arguing with someone, you're just getting really pissed off, you might be wrong. I mean, not always. Sometimes you get pissed off because what the other person's saying is just god-awful ridiculous. But sometimes, you know, like if you're really secure in your belief and you've got a lot to support it, you don't really get too upset when people challenge the belief. It just gives you an opportunity to explain it or to learn how to express and explain it better. But it's when people really don't get the most mad if someone challenges the belief. That's when they get hostile. That's when they go to insults so quickly. And that's when they're not honest about the other person's side. So, are you hey, Paul. Hey, Ravenheart. It seems like I'm supposed to be remembering something that I'm forgetting. Something I was going to tell you or post or... Oh, yeah. I was about to do it last night, and Brittany called me in there, and I forgot. I need to go to your channel and like a lot of your videos. Help my brother out. I don't know if you've come across it, but on that other live, I was kind of jokingly making an offer. But actually, it's not a joke. I probably would really do it. Where I was saying, you could be the Lord of this section of land, you know? Delegate that out. Build a kingdom. I didn't conquer the land with the sword. I bought it with money. But it's my land, so it makes sense for me to be the king of the place. But if you want to be a lord, I just tax you. Tax you 10, 20% on the crops. Keep the rest. Yeah. I thought about making a holding corporation, buying land with it, putting the land in a holding corporation, and then dividing the cost of the property tax amongst the members that are part of the holding corporation. And then building a currency off the value of the land. And then if people improve the land, I don't know, I've got different ideas. But I think that we're going to have to build some type of parallel economy if we're going to resist what's being planned. They're talking about this new type of money that's programmable money. So in the future, money can be temporary. Like you get your paycheck and you got 90 days to spend it before it disappears. Or you said something that's politically incorrect, so they turn your money off or wire it into a different account. Basically how the IMF is able to call credit against any currency and put it on any currency at the national level, they want to now be able to also do that at the individual level, which would be terrible. But that's sort of the nature of power. It's like a drug. They They've become desensitized to having the power to call credit on one nation's currency against another, the IMF, and now they want to do it at the individual level. They want to be able to put money in your account, but be able to take it back out or put it in someone else's. And they're framing it as if this is going to lead to a more stable currency, but it's actually just going to be a currency that's easier for them to track, easier for them to control. And so it's not good, y'all. And so how are you supposed to resist if you can't really resist what's coming by taking out bank loans, by using this fiat currency? You can't really build up a store of wealth doing this either, because your money's going to lose value through inflation. If you could have an honest money, the money would, the value, the profit would flow to you, because people would rather hold their money in a currency that doesn't inflate than one that does. And so something like that needs to be made. Now, a lot of people think that Bitcoin is the decentralized currency that's going to be the store of value that does that. And I disagree. And the reason I disagree is I think that the way Bitcoin is coded, it allows full transparency of every transaction ever made. It is decentralized in the way that it is sort of printed or mined, but it's not really decentralized because BlackRock already has the majority of the Bitcoin. They have the largest share of it, so they can manipulate the market of it already. But think about how this could be a tool for the government, how they get you thinking it's the free money, the money to switch into. And everybody starts pulling into it thinking, oh, this is the money to go into. And then every single time there's a transaction, they see what everybody's buying or selling. And then you start to combine that with 5G and being able to track every material item that's moving. And it could just wind up that it was a scam the whole time, that it was Rothschild money the whole time, that that was the plan the whole time. I'm not saying it is. I'm not saying it's not. Some people might be like, oh, he's anti-Bitcoin. He's a Fed. He's one of them or something. I really don't know about it. I just have a problem trusting it because it cannot be anonymous. That's why I like cash. But I don't like that it's tied to fiat. I really just wish we had gold and silver and digital scales and weighed it out and used it for money or something else. Or maybe non-debt-based fiat. That would even be better than debt-based fiat. That's enough talk about monetary policy. I'm home. It's so hot at work and on the ride home since the air conditioner's broke. And I'm not able to I have to have this intermission between working on the farm and working in construction. I have to come home, cool down, drink me something cool, cool off before I go back. But since I'm in this pain that I'm in, every step hurting and everything, I might just skip going over there. I know the chickens have food and water. I gotta walk like this. Because oh, there we go. I got a package, a mystery person. See, I got this broke dryer on the porch, and I don't know who the mystery person that done it is, but they did not tell me that they done it. But they put some Chinese food. There's a roach in there, probably because of the Chinese food. They put Chinese food in there. Never told me. It wasn't Brittany. And then I opened the dryer one day because, I don't know. I just opened the dryer one day and there's a plate full of Chinese food full of maggots in there. So if somebody was trying to give me some Chinese food, that didn't give me no Chinese food because I didn't know about it. So I didn't know to get it out of there. So it just went bad and it was just like, I would rather have not have had a plate of maggoty Chinese food. Really would rather not. And then, do you ever do this where after the fact, you start having something and you don't know if it's a memory or if it's your mind just trying to explain something? I started thinking, was I about to fall asleep and Mama called me and said she got me and Brittany Chinese food and put it in the dryer so the dogs wouldn't get it? And I don't know if that's a real memory or something my mind just started making up today to try to explain it because it's so faint. I wouldn't call it a memory. I don't know what happened. But I got to use the bathroom, and I'm not going to use the bathroom live streaming. So I'm going to get off the live stream. I'll be back. I'll live stream in just a little bit, but I'm going to take a break.